Hi, everyone. My name is Lori, and I am your host and teacher for this evening's chair yoga full moon gathering. Full moon yoga is something that I started about 6 months ago because it was a way for me to connect more deeply with nature, which is so needed during this pandemic more than ever. And I wanted to bring it into my practice so that I could share it with the rest of you guys. And just a little bit of history about the full moon is that, centuries and maybe thousands of years ago, like we used to follow the cycles of the moon, like with growing plants and, all kinds of like hunting and gathering. And just, I feel like we've lost touch with it. So this is my interpretation of how we can bring back a little bit of nature into our yoga practice. So also, my name is, I think I already said my name is Lori, and I'm a yoga therapist. I primarily work with people who have back pain or sciatica pain, or the both. And what I've learned is that a lot of them actually have limited mobility in their hips, in their back, and as well as in their shoulders. So today's practice is about actually opening up all these different pieces and using repetition gently and safely in the chair so that we can get deep into the nooks and crannies of the hips and release any tension there. Like what I said earlier with the full moon is we see what it does to the tides. So we're kind of harnessing the power of the full moon to do that within our own bodies that are made almost entirely out of water. So without further ado, how I like to start the session is by setting an intention. And you can do this on your own if you have a piece of paper or your phone. You can just jot down a quick note. For me, though, I'm just gonna quickly shuffle my oracle cards here, and I will show it to you, and maybe something will come up. And anything will do. It's really a great way. I use both oracle and tarot cards with my clients if they wish. And it's been a really great way to listen to the intuition and just be present in the moment. So I'm just gonna pick a card here. And the card I picked was the turquoise lotus mother. So I'm gonna show you guys this card. So maybe it might help with your intention. So she's like this beautiful maiden standing with a lotus flower, and she's beautifully decorated in turquoise. And now for our intention today, I'm going to read a snippet from what it says so that if any part of it resonates with you, you can include it as your intention today. And if it doesn't, that's totally okay too. Um, so let me bring this here. 1, 2. Okay, so I really love incorporating these because I love the beauty of the artwork, and it kind of brings me present to what I should be focusing on. And oracle cards are always so easy to interpret. So here we go. Turquoise Lotus Mother. She brings precious healing power to you now. Allow yourself to be lifted out of your struggle, loved one. An old pattern is finally in its death throes, something that has weighted heavily on you from your past. This can be one of the most testing times to allow something to go, just when it seems to be so demanding of your time, focus, and attention. Yet, do not doubt, you have actually learned the lessons it required of you, and now you are being blessed with an opportunity to receive cosmic healing. So I think this is a really beautiful way of saying goodbye to winter, goodbye to, this pandemic, because we're actually entering into this new cycle of spring. Spring is about renewal. It's about, illuminating what has been, in hibernation. So I'm taking that message. You can take whatever you want from it. And at the end, during our final relaxation pose, I will also read the meditation that is in there during that time that you were resting. So let's start. Okay. So I want you to sit in your chair at the very tip, kind of like, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm gonna sit like that. And I want you to try your best to scoot your hips back, maybe move the flesh outward so that your sit bones can fully anchor into the base of your chair. As you're here, I want you to feel like your toes are deeply rooting into the floor. Like you want to feel like you're almost clenching the toes down. I'll show you from this angle, right? So I'm doing like a 90-degree, try your best to tilt. So when we stand sometimes, because we usually have tight hip flexors, the stomach and the ribs jut out. Try to bring everything to the middle and sit up nice and tall. So maybe at this point, like I said, you'll notice, okay, like there's some things tight there. That's totally okay, we're just starting. And try your best to relax your shoulders now. We're gonna do 3 communal breaths to start the session. It's a way for all of us to conjure ourselves into this moment and to be more intentional in all that we do, because we are in community. So I want you to take a deep inhale here. Deep exhale out. Okay, so after this, we're going to start working from the neck down. A lot of what health, I believe, is about the flexibility of the spine. So if you have any spinal issues or you've got fusing of the disc, definitely work with what you've got. And pain is not the game here. So work with what your body is telling you it needs. Okay. So I want you to inhale, reach up with the right arm, or it doesn't matter which one, we're gonna do the other side. So we're gonna exhale, bring that hand down onto the side of your head and just slowly start to let your head come down towards that shoulder. So as you're maintaining this, I want you to still have that nice long back. Really still nice and long, pulled in belly, anchoring down with the toes. So it's still a very active movement that we're doing here. And I want you to conjure up the breath. And then as we're here, we're going to come into some breathing. So I want you to just breathe deeply through the nose and exhale through the nose. So as we're moving through this, your body might feel like, oh, Madeline, are you coming in again? Okay, I don't know. All right, so I had to admit somebody. So now as you're, oh, mute yourself. Oh, okay, so as you're breathing here, start to inhale from the chest, exhale from the back. It's gonna feel good. Oh.
Why don't do that by being in the
I just muted you. You're good now. I don't know what happened there. I thought you were trying, like, I don't know. But we're good. Okay, so sorry, everybody. Okay, so as you're breathing, right, now we're moving that breath into the lungs. So I want you to inhale in the front, exhale in the back. And you can do that by contracting the abs. I know it's like a little bit complicated, but you'll get it. Like yoga is always about practice. And sometimes you'll be like, I have no idea what that means, but it's gonna click after a few breaths, I think, or more. come back to center, exhale, release that. We're gonna try the opposite arm now. So take an inhale, reach up, exhale, release, and always go at about 60%. You don't wanna feel like you're pulling your head. And again, sometimes we just have so much tension in the neck and shoulders from, cell phone use or computer use. And this is a really easy way to just release tension, and you might even feel better right after this. So same thing here, we're gonna bring that inhale into the chest. Exhale from the back, almost like feel your back ribs. You want to put a hand back there to notice it, you can as well. You want to feel like your shoulders are melting down, not coming up. Try to pull the ribs in as much as you can. Remember, still clenching, not clenching, but really gripping the mat with your feet. All right, come back to center, release all of that. Let's roll the shoulders back. Let's roll them forward. And for the last one, we're going to actually interlace the fingers behind the neck, and we're going to get deep into the where your head meets your neck. So your hands, your fingers could actually go right on top of the back of the head or lower, whichever works. You should feel a nice stretch in between the shoulder blades and even on top of the back of the neck here. You'd be surprised how this is such a neglected part of the body, but it's something that we do often because we're always like this anyway. So this just gives it that deeper cycle. And these moments are great if you want to revisit your intention. If your mind is going elsewhere, I always say, going back to your intention. We're going to release the hands. And now we're going to roll the neck from side to side. So depending on what works for you, this might look a little bit from, 180 degrees. It could be 360. But I'm just surprised how, sometimes the back or the sciatica pain is actually related to what happens in the shoulders. And let's hit reverse if you haven't already. Anyone feeling crunchies? Say yes if you have any crunchy pieces coming. All right, coming back to center. Okay, so that concludes our neck and shoulders. We're gonna start working on the middle of the body. So this is a big piece. So let's start with some twists. So again, we talked about if you had any issues with the spine, twists are not so good. But what you can do is just kind of do an open twist like that. This would be the most gentlest way. So we're just gonna come to, I'm starting with my left. So you have that option as well. The most important part is still maintaining that, nice long legs, gripping down and just opening up. So my hips are actually still facing my knees, and it's only my body that turns. And if you don't have any neck issues, you can look down at your shoulder. You'll notice a deep, nice stretch in the back of your neck. And, play with that if you want to look up, look down. Just play with just what's happening, because as much as we're slowing down, we can actually explore. And I invite you to do that. So keeping everything soft. And, using the moon is softer than the sun. So using the power of the full moon in its entirety. Bring it back to center, inhale. Good. Now you can even already feel like, wow, it's uneven. So I'm gonna do the other side. So just gently twist first. I always like starting with 50%. And then as your body starts to warm up to it, you can, use the back of your chair or allow yourself to twist even more. And looking down at your shoulder, and it feels good. And then, looking up and down, getting anything else out. You'd be surprised how one side is going to be crunchier than the other. And let's inhale back to center. Start to shake it out a little bit. We're going to come into cat-cow pose in the chair. But this is like what I call the freestyle. So I'm going to turn so you can see me better. But this is the freestyle. You can hold on to the chair and just kind of like, draw circles with your shoulders, your back. And flexibility of the spine is all about, how much can you move and shift and keep those vertebrae fluid. And we can only do that by moving them. Okay, so coming back to center, hands on the knees, still reaching down deep and rooting into the feet. I want you to inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, pushing away from the knees. So imagine if you're just trying to make, like a C with your back, and then a U as you exhale. Tucking your chin into your chest. So again, start slow. You don't have to do the fullest expression to get the benefits. You can just do it as gentle as you like. And if you work at a desk, this is one of the easiest way to get more energy. You don't need a coffee or anything. You just need cat-cow pose. It's amazing. And here for you anytime. And here in this pose, we're actually going to incorporate the breath some more. So I don't know if you guys know this, but yoga means union in Sanskrit. This is the yoga language that was in ancient India. And what it means is movement and breath. So I really want you to focus on inhaling as you bring the chest out. Exhaling fully when you're in your deepest. And then inhaling, coming back up. So I'm doing something here called Ujjayi breath. And it's something that I believe is such a meditative skill to be able to breathe from the back of your throat. This is a space where you follow the mirror, Darth Vader voice. It gives you something to concentrate on. So we are going to do 5 more of these. I want you to make these so good. If you can do the Darth Vader voice or breath, good. If you can't, that's okay. As long as you're doing your best, that's all we require in yoga. Okay, we have about 3 more. Make them good. All right, so that was the end of our cat-cow. Your spine should be feeling nice and open now. Maybe a little bit more movement in the shoulders. Check it out. Whew. Okay, so the next one we're gonna do is something called hip circles. And it's funny because hips don't do anything. They just stay put. So now when you spread, anchor, press your feet into the ground, you're gonna exhale, come forward and draw circles with your spine, the top of your head. So notice how I'm starting with really small circles. And notice, don't let the legs go up. You want them kind of in the center and still gripping. So your inner thighs are working. You're actually keeping everything set into the hip and you're allowing your body to move with it. So another thing I like to do here, you don't have to, is press, use your thumbs, put that in your hip creases and notice if you can get deeper into the hips this way. So there might be some places that are extra tight. If you want to stop there, take a detour, that's also up to you. There's some nice deep places, especially I think when we come to the sides, just because those are the deeper innermost spinal muscles that keep the spine upright, and we never get to work on those, especially when we sit. So I invite you to do that. This is actually the best time because of the full moon, like we said. So let's do 5 more circles here. So if you want to go bigger now, you want to go longer, also up to you. And then I invite you also connect with that Ujjayi breath here, that Darth Vader breath. Also makes it more fun. Can I do Darth Vader today? It's the last circle on this side, and after this, we're a hip reverse. Okay, so now we're gonna come back to the middle and small circles now. So hip reverse of what you were doing. Go slowly. Notice how it feels to just go a little bit slower than normal. And this is the less dominant side. So you didn't decide to do this one first. So you're probably going to be a little bit more tight on the side. That's what I found. And totally, I invite you, find the spaces to stop. Those are the ones that want us to be present. And I really believe that yoga is a conversation between your body. And you're having it right now. Okay, so you can go deeper. Go ahead and take it. And we're doing 5 more here. So make it good. Lengthen it out. Press into your hip creases. Again, we never want to go hard, right? So if you're like, oh, my thumbs are hurting, then maybe you're pressing a little bit too deep. I know, we tend to overdo everything. Kind of what we've been taught. Okay, I think there's 1 more here. Make it good. And you might even have pinpointed a few things that you need to work on, which is great. Write them down in your mind. Okay, bring it back to center. Ooh. All right, so that was a nice back as well as hip opener. And again, very easy to do in terms of chair hygiene as you're working. So this next one is something that we almost never do because, we walk and we tend to move like this and then, we move side to side. But this one is about opening up the inner thighs. A lot of us are tight here. So as you start opening up your thighs and use your hands to gently push your knees away. Let's breathe here. So our hips are actually, you know, imagine if something were to happen, right? We cover here. And I think that the hips are basically like they want to close all the time as well. So you have to smile. This is what I tell everyone in all my classes. And it's like, unless you're telling yourself, oh, this is totally fine, I want this, the body's going to fight back. So this is one of the hardest parts. So right now I have my toes up, but try to keep your feet grounded. Put those feet on the floor, kind of like, so when I was teaching full moon yoga, we did full moon salutation. So think of it as goddess pose. Goddess pose with the feet on the floor and the body upright. You're trying your best to lengthen your tailbone down. And now we're just gonna inhale, lift the toes, or the heels up. So I don't know, I think Madeline probably remembers, and Debbie, this is how it feels. Remember when we didn't have the chair, it's like so much harder to balance, but with the chair, it makes it more accessible. So let's exhale, bring that down. Oh, let's drop those knees in, give them a quick break. If anything is cramping, definitely grab some water or, you know, take your breaks as you need. Okay, so for our second set, we're doing goddess pose again. And again, if you want to push into it to help, that's also an option. We're going to lift the heels again, lift your chest, relax the back shoulders. We're abs pulled in, ribs pulled in, lengthening the entire body. Exhale, come down, let's drop those in. You can kind of wiggle here. Everyone doing okay? We're good, yes? Okay. Right, our last goddess pose here. So heels down, remember, open them up as much as you can. I'm gonna kind of take this on the side here. Again, we're trying our best to anchor into the hip points. And lift your chest, breathe. Then lift up your heels and breathe. Ooh, I know. So when we said hip release, this is like part of it, right? So make sure to breathe and relax and smile. Smile with your hips. If you think about it, this is a smile with your hips. All right, exhale, release. Okay, so now you want to sit maybe at the tip of your chair, and we're gonna do kind of like windshield wipers. Just kind of a few repetitions of getting the hips situated with all that stuff that we just did, right? This is like a lot maybe. And your body's just like, oh, wow. Okay, so now you're set at the edge of your chair, like on the one side edge. And I want you to just kind of drop this heel and maybe your knee comes down to the floor. Maybe it doesn't. Mine doesn't actually. So I'll do it on this side actually. So it's kind of like a supported low lunge. So I've got my opposite arm on this chair. Depending on what kind of chair you have, this might not be possible. So as much as you can, we're trying to drop that knee. So it's probably not going to hit the floor, and that's okay. So what we're going to do here is we're actually lengthening these hip flexors, another amazing part of the body. So we're going to inhale, reach up with the arm that's actually in the side, same as that leg. So if you even can come up here, that's good. This arm being up is going to actually lengthen this entire part. So if you need to bend your elbow, also an option. You want to untuck your toes and get that in. That's also something. This is low lunge in the chair. All right, let's breathe here. One more breath in. Exhale, release. Yes. And do the opposite side now. So same thing, sitting at the edge of your chair and then dropping that knee. Try your best. Again, it's like there's no uniform chair that we can, like anything works in yoga. It's just about modifying so it works for you. And same thing here. So you can tuck your toes or not, up to you. Lengthen. Again, here sometimes because the hip flexors are so tight, your hips might be really behind you. You want to lift those hip points in, flex and breathe, lengthen down. I know it can be so intense, okay? The hip flexors are actually originating in the, I think it's L5. And that's actually how your body connects to the legs. And this is the muscle that, whenever we are stressed, it actually contracts. So smile, 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 smile. And if you can, just reach up with that same side arm, lifting it up or bending it down, up to you, lengthen. Exhale, release that, coming back to center. Again, all of these things we're doing are supposed to kind of bring the hips kind of more well-rounded equally. So you might feel, because everyone's body is different, that, some things are going to work better and some aren't. So we'll come back to this one. Now we're jumping into the outer hips. Okay. So the first thing you'll do is cross one leg, one ankle over. And I invite you to just fold over these two legs like that. You might feel a nice stretch happening in your glutes already. So I'll show you on the side here. So you're just bending over just like that. So you might already feel it here. Like what I said before, these are not everyday movements. So your body's trying to be like, what are you doing? Smile and breathe. And we'll come back up to center. We'll do the other side now. So crossing the other ankle over. And same thing here, coming full fold over these legs. Bringing it back up to center. And for the next level, so we go crossing at the ankle. If you feel like your knees are okay and they're not hurting you, you can actually bring it up to level 2. So this is going to be a little bit more direct. And I always tell people, if you feel any knee pain, it's probably not worth it. Here in this pose, you might not be able to forward fold, but if you feel it enough, and you also can use the same arm to massage, it's a really great way to actively use your hands to break apart tension there. So I also like to push down onto the thigh. And that way, every time I exhale, getting a little bit more space in there. Like I said, these are not like things that we do. This is actually part of sitting down on the floor, cross-legged, right? So when we were kids, we used to do this, and we stopped. So now it's about bringing it back. Let's do one more breath here. And then we're going to switch. So again, listen to your body. Sometimes you can do one side, but not the other. So sitting up nice and tall. Remember, foot is anchoring into the floor. If you can come slightly forward, you can, but it's totally not necessary. It's probably already there. So this is even more important why you need to sit up straight, right? So the same thing that we did earlier. Ooh, sorry, I'm gonna admit somebody in. Mute them. Okay. Hi, welcome to the class. We're just working on opening up the hips, so just follow as best as you can. So we're doing, so you can start with the ankles crossed down here, or if this feels good, you can do it this way. So we're just really allowing the hips to open gently on their own, or you can add some more physical manipulation with the hands and fingers, and also allowing your hand to gently push your thigh down. So one of the best parts about this posture is that it allows us to get deeper in the outer hips, and sometimes that's actually where we need it most. And you can just sit like this, like during, work, you can try to do this. So I always recommend this one if my clients are not having knee issues. So if this hurts your knee, again, back off. So do one more breath here. And then we'll release. Okay, so we're gonna come back to that low lunge. And as you remember before, we kind of sat at the edge of the chair and we kind of did something like this, right? Now we're actually gonna try to send that leg back. So you might still keep a slight bend, that's okay, but we want to actually extend the leg back, and the hips are now facing the front of your mat or wherever you're facing. So they're not open, right? It's like both feet are facing that way. So again, if you're just joining us, you might want to keep it down here. But for those of us maybe feel a little bit more warmed up, we're actually lengthening out the hamstrings and the calves. Taking a breath here. We're going to exhale, maybe bend back. So the reason why we work in so many different parts of the body to combat, back or sciatica pain is because it's actually possible that any of the above, shoulders all the way down to calves, could be contributing to your back pain. And that way, when we do these poses in the chair, we actually cross off things one by one. Like, okay, it's not this, it's not that. And you might notice here, it's impossible for me to stretch this out. So bending that in, then out again. And remember when we talked about the hip points, lift the hip points. So you've maybe realized, oh, I lift my hip points, but I don't go back. Well, that's probably because your hip flexors are really tight. And that's okay. Okay, let's do one more set here. So really nice and long. And then exhale, release. Okay, we're gonna do the opposite side now. So here we go, starting with bent knees. And as you're breathing here, start to take an inhale, exhale, open it up into a high lunge. Bending in. Isn't it crazy how something so simple can be so hard, right? When we're being mindful, it can actually be really challenging because now we're being like, oh, it's my hip flexors actually. So start to really lift your tailbone down, round, and then exhale, lengthen again. Exhale, release. Last one here. So high lunge, breathing, lengthening. And coming back to center. Okay. So we're going to come into something called Malasana pose. And this is something that we normally use the elbows for, kind of like the knees are coming in. So you're trying to push in and the elbows are pushing out. So you'll have to do kind of like a forward fold here. So try your best. So first we'll open up in the knees, and there you come forward. And then you drop down. Like I said, you want to use your arms to push back and your legs to pull forward. And you're also lengthening out your body. So this is a really strong one about lengthening all the different parts of your body, in the back, in the spine. And 2 more breaths here again. You should be able to keep these poses long, so if they're easy, you're probably not engaging, right? Exhale, release. So again, if you're just kind of chilling like this, right, you want to pull everything in, ribs in, belly in, tailbone down, and really start to connect with every muscle in your body. Okay, so here's number two. You can have your heels up for this one if you think it's easier, you want to get deep into the calves, but it's up to you. So really push outwards with the arms, push inwards with the legs. So you're using this like, self body strength to push and pull using resistance in your own body. Exhale, release. Good. So shake it out a little bit. Your hips should be feeling pretty happy by now, maybe a little bit tired. We're almost there. So we went deep into the high lunge, the low lunge, and the peak of our poses are going to be our warrior stance. So these are kind of more, they put everything together, and I'm still going to invite you to like try your best. It's like your hips should be warmed up, all the hamstrings and things. So I invite you to feel them out. So kind of like how we did the high lunge, right? Except now I want you to try your best to put that heel down. So when you put the heel down, your hip opens. So your hip is going to open to the side. So notice how my hips are now facing the camera. When here, they were not facing the camera. So try your best. You might want to move maybe like your knee all the way close to the side of the edges of the chair, and try your best to anchor down with that leg. So this is the true warrior two legs or warrior legs. Like we want to be grounded. Like say we weren't using the chair, right? So you would be kind of something like this. So this is about lengthening but squeezing up. I want you to feel like you're squeezing upwards. So it's not we're just resting, but we're allowing all the inner thigh strength to pull up. And that is actually where we can pull up with the body as well. So we're breathing here. Is this challenging? Okay, breathe, smile. And exhale, release. Coming back to center. Whew. Wiggle it out. We're gonna do the other side now. So again, coming back into that high lunge space. And then working it back, right? So first we do the high lunge. And we put the heel down straight. We engage the foot. So the foot is like firmly rooted in the back as well as the front. And we're lifting, we're like grabbing this mat like so much. And we're trying our best to just lengthen up this way. You guys are looking awesome, Madeline and Debbie. Just rocking it. You can see you. All right, come back to center. Whew. Shake it out. We're about to do a second set. So when you're in yoga class and they're talking about warrior twos and things, like maybe it's like, we just bring arms up and we're like, okay, we're there. But it's really about all of the power of the legs. If you think about warriors, like they usually have a stance, right? You have to be firmly rooted. And this is what we're trying to do here. So let's go back to the first side. We're gonna come back into that high lunge. We're gonna add the arms now. So if you're still working on balance and you need to keep your hands down or you want to put them around your hips, totally fine. But if you want to, you can start adding the arms if you like. So coming into high lunge, dropping the heel down, anchoring. And then as you're pulling the belly in, you want to feel like you're sending your tailbone down towards your chair, lifting the hip points up. So again, if you need to keep your hands here, this is better to work on the foundation up. And we bring the arms out. We look strongly through the fingertips of the front arm, and there we go, warrior two. Virabhadrasana 2. Great job, guys. Looking beautiful. So drop those shoulders, right? All those shoulders, beautiful. Exhale, release. Okay, other side. So high lunge, and then drop, anchor. And same thing here. So try your best to lengthen, lift those hip points up. Pull the ribs in. Remember when in the beginning, we talked about breathing into the back of the ribs. Try that. And then both arms out. Looking strongly over the just past those fingertips. And I always say this is where we want to look our intention into the eye. This is what we're here for. Earlier, we talked about renewal, about the lotus flower. And that is what it is. You know, a lotus grows in the muddy waters. And it just shows that anything is possible. Exhale, release. Come back to center. Ooh. So we got a nice hip release going. We have one more set here before we continue into our cool down and just like massaging the hips now. So again, make this practice what you need. And if your hips are like yelling at you right now, it's always okay to do something slightly different or modify it for yourself. So high lunge and warrior two. Heel down. Squeeze. Lift those hip points. And then arms out. Just for funsies, we're going to throw in a reverse warrior here. Let's try it. So all you have to do is keep everything, the bottom, the way it is. And you're put your back arm down. You're going to reach up with that arm, the front arm. Look up if you like. Feeling long, right? It's like your connection with like the earth. Reaching up for the stars and the full moon tonight. And exhale, release that. Whew. Other side. All right, so high lunge is where we start. We open it up. And lift those hip points, pull the ribs in. And then let's bring out the arms. Remember, drop those shoulders, relax those neck and shoulder muscles. Exhale, let's bring that back arm down, keeping everything consistent in the lower body when you reach up. So notice how you're lengthening down, you're pulling the ribs, you're breathing into the back. And let's bring it down to center. Yay. All right, so coming back, we're actually going to windshield wiper the legs a bit. And then we're going to come into bringing the soles of the feet together. So you'll kind of put them on the floor just like that. You know, it can be kind of hard. So just like so, like we're in butterfly pose on the floor. And then we're going to straighten one leg at a time and we can lean into those back of the legs, hamstrings, and calves. So just going to extend one leg down, exhale, forward. Coming back to center, exhale, forward, fold again. Last time here. And hinging from the hips. Okay, bring that leg back and do the other side. 2 more just like that. Just back to your breath, feeling the body. Let's come back to center. All right, so here we're going to come back to cat-cow pose, and I want you to notice how it feels in, now that we're doing this at the end of our practice. So dropping, coming as we inhale up, exhale, round it back. Keep moving through. Let's go 5 times, just like that. And then one more here. I hope it feels easier to do, like you have more space in your spine. And now we'll round it out with some hip circles, so drawing circles again. And this time be more fluid. So you don't have to feel like you're anchoring the hips down, but try to find some space up and around, like almost like you're a snake. So we talk about renewal, and the snake is coming in my mind because snakes shed their skin, and that's kind of what we're doing. Every time we wake up, it's an opportunity for renewal. But with spring, it feels like the ultimate chance for renewal every time. Because of the winter and the fall. Fall is about things basically transforming. Winter is about things hibernating. This full moon, first one after spring started. And hit reverse if you haven't already. Let's come back to center. So I did say that we were going to stay in our chairs, but I'm going to offer something that can be super relaxing if you want to try it. It's about laying down on your mat and putting your legs up on the chair. So if you want to try that, you can. If you don't want to, you can just kind of sit back in your chair and just rest. That's an option. It's really relaxing though, so I'll just demonstrate really quick. You just kind of put your chair at the end of the mat. You put your legs on top. So notice how I scoot my booty all the way to the end, right? And then you stick the legs through, right? And then when you lay yourself down, you want to even inch closer, because what happens here is that your body is going to be, your spine is going to be fully on the floor. It's being held, your hips are being held by the chair. And this, to me, is like the ultimate back pain releaser. So as you're breathing here, your hips are held and you're just breathing deep into the entire length of the spine. So for some people, it might feel good just to leave the palms open by the hips. Don't even need to do much more than that. So this is our restorative pose. After all of that hip opening that we did, now we're cradling it. So you lay your hands by your hips, or you can hold on to your hips or maybe massage them, push them down a little bit more to get a little bit more length in the low spine. Up to you. Just remember to breathe. Again, staying in the chair is also a good way to relax. Anything you need that your body's like telling you to do. And I will now prepare, as you're relaxing here, this is our Shavasana. So as you're here, I want you to really release into your body. It's about being alert and relaxed at the same time. And I'm going to read this meditation here. So you can use this as part of your intention tonight, or if you have your own, you can use it now. So, rest comfortably and become aware of your heart chakra, which is in the center of your chest. Focusing your awareness there, say, I now open my heart to receive cosmic blessing and liberation according to the divine grace of Guan Yin, turquoise lotus mother. I receive any guidance, energetic transmission, or support that is unconditionally loving to help me receive this blessing now. Through divine grace, so be it. Perceive a light, a presence of energy of the turquoise lotus mother now. As you focus your heart center, be aware of the beautiful Guan Yin holding the magnificent lotus made of turquoise. It hovers and spins above her hand, and then begins spinning above your crown chakra, showering you with soft golden light with flecks of turquoise energy. Don't think, just allow this to happen. When you have stayed with this process for as long as feels good for you, silently give thanks and come back to the breath flowing in and out. When you are ready, just open your eyes. So I'm going to give you a few moments here to just check in with your body. Start with the feet. Moving up into the knees. And up into the hips. They should be really relaxed now. Nothing more to say. And up into the heart chakra, the center where we just were. Maybe allowing your shoulders to soften even more. And coming up into the root of the throat chakra. And just notice how your energy is so calm because you did use the full moon to open and release your hips. And gently blink the eyes open. If you are on a chair, definitely take the legs off and we're going to come into a seated position. So we're going to come back onto the chair if you'd like. Okay, so we're going to close our session with 3 communal breaths. Let's take a deep exhale, everything out. that concludes our full moon chair yoga gathering. I'm so glad that you guys were able to come join me.